Good morning to all of you out there. Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Cignal TV, channels 8 and 250, or on facebook.com/onenewsph. You can also watch us live and for replays via YouTube. Just type in One News PH. And if you want, you can download the Cignal Play app if you are a Cignal subscriber. So mag-subscribe na po. Please subscribe to Cignal TV. And you can also reach us via cell phone, via SMS. Our smart number is, if I can find it here, 0968-704-7736. Wala pong bayad yan dahil ako ang may hawak ng telepono. Okay, today is September 15, 2021. Let's go. It's a Wednesday. Let's go straight to the front page of the Philippine Star. And on the front page, there you have it on the main headline, NCR, National Capital Region or Metro Manila, under second highest COVID alert. Huwag po kayong mabahala. Same dog, different color. Why? Because starting September 16, the government will try out the granular lockdowns program. And under that granular lockdown, there will be 5 levels of alert from 1 to 5. 1 being back to normal before COVID, and 5 being worse than we ever imagined with COVID. So ganun po. We will discuss that with our first guest later, Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya. We will go to hihimay natin. We will flesh out the various levels of alert. And we'll also check in with the Usec Malaya because a lot of people were worried last night regarding the Japanese travel alert, where it warned its citizens to be careful or avoid traveling to certain Asian countries, Malaysia, Philippines, nakalimutan ko na yung iba, but apparently because of a terror threat. Okay, meantime, let's go back to the front page of the Philippine Star. From the top, World Health Organization bucks boosters even for healthcare workers. The World Health Organization does not support booster shots kahit na for healthcare workers, frontliners, because unless they are immunocompromised. Okay, otherwise, who said no? Because it would further increase or it would add to the vaccine inequity. Kumbaga, marami pa raw there. Many people, many countries who barely have any vaccines, and promoting booster shots will further complicate their problem. Meanwhile, Marawi-born jurist named to the Supreme Court. Court of Appeals Associate Justice Japar Di Maano was appointed by President Duterte as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. Then on the right side of the upper part, cabinet men in Senate probes need Rodis. Okay, the president said anyone who is invited to a Senate investigation has to ask permission or clearance or make paalam to PRRD because nasasayang lang daw ang oras naghihintay sa halls of Congress or the Senate. Okay, and then our COVID-19 cases, 18,056 new cases yesterday. 222 people died, and it just occurred to me what is the number we should always mention and emphasize every day is that number of total deaths, because yun lang naman ang nakakaagaw pansin sa Pilipino. 35,529 na po ang namatay dahil sa COVID. So para dun sa mga nag-aakalang sipon o bulang ang COVID-19 o Delta variant, sige kayo, baka maging 35,530 kayo yung ika-30th. Okay, curfew in Metro Manila will be shortened from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And the meantime, Secretary Mon Lopez is projecting that 200,000 jobs will return into the labor market once they implement the granular lockdowns, because the first to benefit from the granular lockdowns are restaurants, salons, barbershops. Ewan ko lang kung pati yung massage therapy will also be allowed. But gyms will be open. We will discuss that later. The Department of Labor, in the meantime, Secretary Bebot Bello has reached out to the NBI para investigate another anomaly. Okay, this time hindi to Parmali anomaly. This is the Tupad anomaly. Okay, the tulong panghanap buhay of displaced workers, specifically in Quezon City. One case mentioned in the news item, in Barangay Holy Spirit, they were supposed to receive 7,518 pesos. Pero sinamahan sila nung isang barangay employee when they claimed at the payment center, and they were only given 2,000 pesos. The question is, bakit nakaltasan ng 5,518? And then there you go, you see that photo on the bottom left, bottom right, that is the Robinson Mall in Pampanga, where San Fernando, Pampanga, where they lit up their Christmas tree. And yan po, opening of Christmas season na kaiba, no? September, nagtayo na ng Christmas tree. Okay, sayang, na-miss natin yung middle picture. Anyway, we'll go for to our quote of the day. This is one of my favorites, okay? It comes from the character of Gandalf of Lord of the Rings. Some believe that it is only great power that can hold evil in check. But that is not what I've found. I found it is the small things, everyday deeds by ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay. Gandalf. Okay, ano pong ibig sabihin yan? What am I trying to convey? Wherever you are, whatever you do, the small act of kindness will give hope to people, will brighten someone's life, okay? And alam niyo po, sa UP, the small act of opposition, the people in UP Diliman has opposed the nomination of Harry Roque in New York to become member, United Nations Court, or League of Lawyers, ewan ko ba, parang di ko na matanda na. But let me just check it out here. The UP Executive Committee opposed the nomination of former faculty member, presidential spokesman Harry Roque to the International Law Commission. Alam niyo po, yung mga ganyang opposition na yan, medyo sa feeling nila, hindi tama. Well, whether you like Harry Roque or not, the point is your voice. Isang post sa social media, malaking bagay po yan to correct what is wrong, to expose or to highlight what is right. Anyway, let's move forward to our program for today. Just remember what Gandalf the White said, huh? It is your little act, your courage, your generosity. Now, let's go to our first interview. Let's bring in Interior Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya, also the spokesperson of the DILG. Usec Malaya, good morning.
Yes, good morning ka, Cito, at good morning po sa lahat ng ating taga-subaybay.
Okay, finally we have arrived at the beginning. Itong Ito na naman, may bago na naman tayong program to fight COVID-19. Some are hopeful, some are doubtful. Please explain how we are going. Please walk us through this granular lockdown and the different levels. Kasi may level 1 to 5.
Well, Kasito, I hope we're all hopeful because itong shift, this shift in the granular lockdown is a result of our previous experience, no? And we looked at the data and we saw that yung ating large-scale lockdowns in the past or yung mga ECQ, MECQ natin. And in our last ECQ in April, lumabas doon na we were still very mobile. So yung sinasabi nga nilang hilaw, so it wasn't able to stop the transmission of COVID-19. And we also saw from the data that 80% of our cases came only from 11% to 30% of our barangays. So meron lang maliit na segment of our population where the active cases are coming from. And finally, we also saw increased adherence to the minimum public health standards and the increased vaccination coverage. No, that's really one of the things that allowed us to shift to this new policy, to this new policy, because right now we are at least 28.6% of our eligible population have already been vaccinated. And in Metro Manila, where we are doing this pilot program, ang naka-first dose sa atin, 86.55% na. No? Which means 8.4 million people have at least one dose, while 38% have already the second dose. So maganda yung takbo ng ating vaccination program in Metro Manila. So we are confident now of implementing this pilot program on the alert level system. So if we can briefly explain itong bago nating approach, it's because we're having this approach, and the difference is instead of doing large scale community quarantine classifications which limit the capacity of all industries in a certain area, we would rather have a more targeted approach. No, a more targeted approach wherein yung ating mga 3Cs, yung mga high-risk activities natin ng 3Cs, yun ang pagtutuunan natin. And these 3Cs have already been explained by the DOH. Essentially, they are the activities that are closed, the activities that are crowded, and activities that are close contact. Doon tayo tututok. These are the activities which gusto natin yung ating mga kababayan. They should not practice this. They should do away with this so that makontrol natin yung COVID-19. And kanina yung pinalabas mo about Gandalf, I completely agree with that. No? Because the success of this program depends upon the adherence and the small things that people do on a daily basis. No? So if everybody will implement the minimum public health standards, that would really be a big help in the success of this policy shift.
Okay, now that's all good and so far clear. You are targeting or you're going to get strict on areas or activities in closed areas like malls, buildings, gyms, etc. Crowded where there are more than 10 people, I suppose, or 30 people, and contact, direct contact, yung kumbaga naghahalubilo, may party or interaction. Now, this granular lockdown, everyone is saying, at least from the government side, business side, it will help the economy get back on its feet. The problem is, as you mentioned, one of the things that hurt us or tied our hands in our previous efforts is because of the mobility. Dahil nga patuloy ang paggala ng tao, patuloy ang pagkalat ng COVID. The more mobile, the more widespread COVID got. What changes under the granular lockdown?
As I said, our focus will be on activities of people, no? Because we are now we're now in a position wherein we can better address the COVID spread, at least in Metro Manila, because dito sa Metro Manila, kahit tumataas yung kaso natin, there is less hospitalization of people because most of the people who are with COVID, sa bahay lamang sila, no? Because they have already been vaccinated. So, ito nga yung sinasabi ni Secretary Eduardo Año, that it's about time that we start to live with the virus. Since a lot of people have already been vaccinated, let's start to live with the virus and let's just limit the activities that and have a more targeted approach. Kasi when we do wide-scale community quarantine classification, it hurts everyone. Not
no arguments from me from that. No, and let me make it clear. I want people to go out. I myself am, missing my house in Pasig. I want to go back to Metro Manila. Pero natatakot naman ako bumalik sa Metro Manila dahil baka hindi na ako makalabas ng Metro Manila, no? So let's do a step by step, Usec, if you don't mind, no? How do we ensure, how do we even implement this program? Because when people have said, si Joey Concepcion and the business people have said, let those who are fully vaccinated with vaccination cards go out. Pero kinokontra naman ng mga ibang tao na either it is discriminatory or it is unfair because we don't have enough vaccines for the others. Okay, so lalabas yung tao, sasakay sa kotse or sasakay sa bus. Pagsakay lang sa bus, that's already close contact and confined. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So yung ating public transportation will continue to be under the minimum public health standards. The policies of the DOTR are still there. Yung ating physical distancing, yung use of barriers in public health, public transportation will still be there. Hindi naman natin po yun tinatanggal. So we really need strict enforcement coming from the PNP, coming from the local government unit, and from the LTFRB, and the DOTR, since they are in charge of public transportation. So all other activities, kaya kung makikita nyo, Sir Cito, yung ating listahan na ipinalabas na prohibited activities or business operations, they focus on the 3 Cs.
Yes.
They focus on the 3 Cs. Pero yung ating movement ng tao, hindi na natin masyadong hinihigpitan ngayon, precisely because of the need to balance the health of the public and the economy. Kasi,
so do sa mobility, the presumption is by the experts that if we observe health protocols and if the law enforcers or gatekeepers are strict, then the issue of transmission or contamination in transport will not be an issue. So okay, we go to the offices, etc. There is still that issue in the offices and in pati nga yung sa mga restaurants. There is a requirement that all employees of restaurants be vaccinated. Is now this by law or paano nyo patutupad to? Kasi challenge ito as a violation of right to choose or whatever right they claim.
Yeah. Well, actually, Sir Cito, yung sa vaccination natin, as I said kanina, has been doing very well. In fact, meron tayong mga vaccination centers na wala na mga pila ngayon, no? And additional vaccines have arrived. And more vaccines are going to arrive as announced by the COVAX yesterday. So, yung pagpapabakuna, at least in the pilot area in Metro Manila, is not a problem. No, we have done already a great stride. So, yung negosyo na gustong magbukas must comply with the vaccination requirement. If it wants to offer indoor services like itong like here for Metro Manila under Alert Level 4, if they want to do indoor dine-in wherein 10% is allowed, that's only for fully vaccinated individuals. So kailangan hingin yung vaccination card. Now for the workers of these establishments, they also have to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. So pag pumunta yung ating law enforcement pag pumunta yung DTI, yung Business Permits Office ng LGUs, and to inspect these establishments, hahanapan sila ng mga vaccination cards. And kailangan yung mga negosyante, yung owners of these business establishments and the managers should help their employees, if there are still employees na hindi pa nababakunahan, na magpabakuna na kaagad, no? In fact, many of the private organizations na nag-procure ng vaccines, madami silang sobra ngayon. No? Kasi nung lahat ng empleyado nila napabakunahan na nila, yung mga kamag-anak ng mga empleyado nila napabakunahan na nila, so there is already, coming from the private sector, some excess vaccines. And these are being distributed to LGUs all over the country. So
Okay.
if we're talking about Metro Manila, and a business establishment or business owner wants to operate, magpabakuna na po sila. Madali lang po magpabakuna ngayon, especially in Metro Manila.
Okay, so let's be very clear about this. Any person who wants to get into a restaurant for indoor dining under alert level 4 must show a vaccination card that they are fully vaccinated. If they are not vaccinated or fully vaccinated, sorry, please go home.
Yes, that's correct. And kung ipapakita pa nila yung vaccination card nila, pwede pa sila makakuha ng discount because ang
Okay.
daming establishments ngayon nagbibigay ng discount if you're fully vaccinated.
Okay, the employees of all of these in-house facilities must be fully vaccinated as well.
Yes,
Okay.
that is for dining, for indoor dining, which is 10% allowed indoor, and yung mga personal care services like
Okay.
barber shops, hair spas, nail spas, and beauty salons, 10% allowed indoor, provided that their employees are also fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
Okay, yung spa, no, although ako, kilala mo naman ako, Usec John, ako ay taong bukid, hindi ako mahilig sa mga nail spa na ganyan. But there are other versions of spas, not just hair salon, nail spas, meron ding mga massage, may mga foot massage, merong mga whatever they call it, yun ba papayagan? And also mga gyms papayagan na ba, and for how many?
Okay. There's a long list of 3Cs, activities and establishments which are considered of high risk and are not allowed to operate under alert level 4. So, ito, let me just emphasize, no? And dito natin kailangan si Gandalf, no? Because social events are also prohibited under alert level 4. And I've noticed ang dami nang nagso-social events, gatherings at residences with any person outside of one's immediate household, no? We need to sacrifice muna at this point in time. So bawal pa po 'yan, no? Yung questions about indoor sports courts or venues, fitness studios, gyms, spas, or other indoor leisure centers or facilities, they are still totally prohibited under alert level 4. And also yung massage therapies, as you mentioned, these are also prohibited under alert level 4. However, pag pumasok na po tayo sa alert level 3, and I hope very soon we will get there, itong mga social gatherings which I mentioned will now be allowed up to 30% of operational capacity. And yung mga gyms na yan and yung massage therapies na yan will now be allowed under 30% capacity. So talagang sa alert level 4, because of the high risk classification of Metro Manila, mahigpit pa tayo. But once we go to alert level 3, they will now be allowed under 30% capacity.
Okay, because I'm looking at some of the guidelines here. Under alert, I have the impression that alert level 4 under granular lockdown ay para na ring ECQ or still ECQ because persons younger than 18 or above 65 and above are still not allowed to go outside of residences. And then yung allowed for persons not under, yung travel, hindi ka rin pwedeng mag-interzonal travel if you are 18 below or 65 above, etc. What happened to that argument that, if people are fully vaccinated, 65 above, that they should be allowed to move around already?
Yes, that's the but that's only for alert level 4. If you will notice, Casito, compared to the quarantine qualifications of the past, na wala tayong mga distinctions between the alert levels, between the
Yeah.
CQ and all. Dito sa alert level 4, we're strict with those who are 18 below and 65 above. But pag nag-alert level 3, allowed na siya. Allowed na siya to move unless there is a LGU restriction. So
Mhm.
that's again another change in the policy that's we are going to have. Now, as I said kanina, under the CQ classifications, lahat ng industries under the previous CQ classifications, lahat ng industries apektado. But now under the alert level system, we are just focusing on certain activities and business establishments that will and acts that we are prohibiting, and slowly ay magkakaroon tayo ng pagluwag when things get better. The other difference between itong CQ, previously CQ policy natin, and the alert level system now is that the DOH will be the one to identify the alert level of the certain area, no? So it will not be anymore the IATF who will make those announcements. It will be the DOH who will make those announcements on
Yeah.
alert level every week. And they've changed the parameters of the announcement, no? The basis for the alert level will be two things: the case data and the case transmission, and the healthcare utilization rate, which is primarily the total beds and the ICU beds. Dati kasi, nakatutok lang tayo lagi sa healthcare utilization. But now we have the entire picture. So again, there's also going to be a change on how the alert level system is going to be announced and implemented.
Okay, pasensya ka na, Yusek John, I really, because I have to do my job as well. And also I have to voice what has been expressed, particularly by mayors, na sabi nila, okay naman yung ginagawa ng IATF at ng gobyerno ng DOH. Kanya lang, merong loophole. There is a problem in the way we are gathering the data and coming to decisions and conclusions, which is many of the hospitals in Metro Manila are concentrated, like Quezon City. Quezon City has practically all the specialist hospitals of the country. And then other like San Juan and Pasig, Quezon City has the big hospitals, the private hospitals. And in fact, Francis Zamora of San Juan mentioned it yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, where he said, ang problema, sa amin pupunta sa hospital namin dahil may sikat na hospital sa San Juan, pupunta dito. Pagkatapos yung mga kaso nare-report as cases of San Juan. So kami yung natatamaan, kami yung naiipit. Same here in Lipa. In the last ECQ or quarantine classification, our hospitals were filled by people from Laguna, Cavite, and Metro Manila. So tumaas ang number namin dito. Is there a correction being made by the DOH? Because that seems to be a very serious flaw in their data gathering.
Yes, actually, Sir Cito, that has been discussed and raised by Mayor Zamora in one of the meetings between the Metro Manila Council, the DOH, and the DILG. And this was also raised by Chairman Abalos in the meetings of the IATF. And they're addressing that now. What the DOH is doing now is requiring the hospitals to report the actual residence of their patients. So, for example, the DOH understands the concern of Mayor Zamora that Cardinal Santos is a very famous hospital And they have many patients from all over the Philippines, even as far as Pampanga and Bulacan. So what the DOH is now requesting the hospitals is for them to submit the addresses of their patients para hindi na mare-record under San Juan. The patients will now be recorded on the basis of their actual residence. Or so kung taga Quezon City sila, papasok sila sa datos ng Quezon City. Kung sila ay taga Bulacan, sa Bulacan sila papasok. So hinihimay-himay na ito in preparation for the pilot implementation of the alert level system starting tomorrow.
Okay, quickly na lang, Usec, because tatlo kayong bisita ko today dahil mainit itong topic na ginawa natin. We have a question here. This mandatory vaccination requirement for employees in-house employees, pwede ba yung basis para matanggal sa trabaho kung hindi vaccinated? May assistance ba ang government para sa mga matatanggal? Kasi, okay, there are people who are not yet vaccinated, can't be vaccinated. Alam mo naman sa restaurant, sa mga barbershop, isang kahig, isang tuka. Para mag-absent, 0 ka. Pagkatapos, pipila ka ng 2 araw, patis di ka pa rin mabakunahan, tanggal ka sa trabaho?
Sir Cito, kasi ako personally, no, sa panahon ngayon, hindi ka pa nagpapabakuna, nagpabaya ka na. Because vaccination is something that LGUs do every day. No, in fact, yesterday.
Usec, I love you. You're my friend. I respect you. Okay, but the reality, I'm very involved in my community. Ilang tao pa rin ang kilala ko dito na at saka sa ibang mga barangay, hindi mabakunahan kasi wala silang ID. Wala silang voters ID. Hindi sila makakuha ng ID, etc. Ito kasing requirement for a voter's ID. Pati nga doon sa barangay ko, may nag-text doon sa mga senior citizen group daw na magbibigayan daw ng bonus sa Pasko ang Pasig for senior citizen. Pero kailangan may voter's registration card ka. Ang problema, kailangan pumunta ako sa Pasig City Hall, sa COMELEC for the voters registration. It's not just me, it's thousands of Filipinos who don't have that stupid card. Sorry, pasensya ka na. Talagang napipikon ako dun sa card na yan . Bakit ba nagiging basihan yung voters card na yan? It's still tied to politics, to local politics . Dumadaing na ako sa iyo, Usec. Let's put a stop to this insanity because that's the reason why many Filipinos are not vaccinated as of now. They don't have that card.
Yeah, we would appreciate, Sir Cito, if you can give us data on where and what LGUs are requiring their constituents to get a voter's ID before they can be vaccinated. Because wala po kahit po saan, kahit hanapin natin kahit saan, I don't see any requirement from any of the policies issued by the IATF, or there is no law which requires a person to have a voter's ID to be vaccinated. So, but in Metro Manila, hindi ko pa po narinig yan. Maybe outside of Metro Manila. But since we're talking about Metro Manila here,
pasensya ka na, Usec. This is what I'm talking about is outside Metro Manila. Kasi may mga kaibigan ako na may farm sa Cavite, mayroong mga farms dito sa iba-ibang lugar ng Batangas, and kilala mo naman ako, pusang gala ako before COVID, I'm all over the place. That voters ID, lagi yang hinihingi. Kasi kumbaga, in fact, before COVID lang yung magpapa-hospital lang na isa-isang probinsya lumapit sa akin para matulong. Sabi ko, punta kayo sa hospital nyo. Sir, hinahanapan po kami ng voters ID, hindi po kami nakarehistro. So maybe favor na lang po for the citizens of the Republic, if Secretary Anyo, who I know is a good and caring person, if he can just issue an executive order or a resolution na banning the requirement of a voter's registration card or ID And kahit anong ID, basta kahit yung barangay ID o school ID, dapat okay na yun. Kasi, I'm sorry nababad tayo dyan. Pero yun lang yung point because you raised this issue about vaccination. Yes, it's
Yes.
outside Metro Manila. Pero pakiimbestigan nyo na yan kasi kung congressman ako, patawag ko talaga lahat yung mga damuhon na yan. Anyway,
Tito, I will relay this to Secretary Anyo, and we will probably issue a memorandum circular which will remind our local government units that they cannot require a voter's ID for any government transaction for that matter. So sa ayuda, we never require that, and definitely in vaccination, hindi po yan required. So, but again, going to the topic kanina when you
Yes.
mentioned to me, we are only piloting this in Metro Manila, and we are only requiring vaccination for those who wish to operate for 10% indoor, precisely because we have the supplies for Metro Manila. We in fact have already vaccinated administered 14 million doses, 14.4 million doses, and we're doing daily jobs. The other day, 139,652. So yung mga taga Metro Manila po na gustong magpabakuna, you can be vaccinated if you want to. So let's consider vaccination as a civic duty. Magpabakuna po tayo para matigilan natin yung transmission, and so that businesses can go back to normal.
Okay, so itong general rule na pinag-usapan natin na mga allowed and not allowed, this is for the commercial area and movement of fully vaccinated individuals who are part of the economic operation. Now, what about the cases? Kasi dyan sa front page ng Philippine Star, hindi ko lang nabanggit kanina, my fault. Yung center photo ay yung isang kalsada sa may Malabon yata yun, na sinara ng barangay because of COVID cases. Kumbaga, nag-granular lockdown sila. It's been mentioned that it is the barangay officials or city mayor who will make the call. Pero ano ba ito? Is this based on number of cases or based on directives by the DOH?
No, pag granular lockdown, Sir Cito, it's the mayor who makes that decision, hindi yung barangay. Because the barangay does not have access to the epidemiological data coming from the city health office. It will have to be the mayor. So the mayor will take a look at the report coming from the city health office, particularly the clustering of cases. So if there is, kasi a granular area is called a critical zone, meaning there is confirmed cases and transmission has been happening. And therefore, on that basis, a mayor can impose a granular lockdown in any area within his jurisdiction. But the smaller the area, the better. Kaya nga po tinatawag nating granular. Granule, mas maliit.
Kumbaga, bahay-bahay.
Kung pwedeng bahay-bahay, Mayor Lino Cayetano said ang gagawin daw nila sa Taguig will most probably be bahay-bahay. The concept being, the smaller the area, the less effect you will have on the rest of the population of your local government unit. So dito lalabas yung decision making ng mayor on how soon he will impose granular lockdowns in critical zones which have clustering of cases.
Quick answer, quick question. Yung pong sa mga restaurants na wala pang bakuna yung kanilang mga empleyado, is the DOH, IATF going to make available mobile or a scheduled vaccination? Kasi kung marami namang empleyado o tao gustong magpabakuna pero wala pa sa lugar nila, meron ba tayong provision to vaccinate because of the mandatory requirement?
The LGU, Sir Cito, is the one in charge of vaccination on the local level. So I would suggest to these business establishment and business owners, makipag-ugnayan na sila kaagad-agad sa kanilang mga local government units. No? LGUs do different things. Meron silang drive-thru, meron silang mobile, may umiikot sa mga iba't ibang mga subdivisions. They have mega vaccination sites. Madami pong pamamaraan. The citizens, those businessmen who would like to operate with under 10% indoor can just coordinate with the LGU so that they can be vaccinated immediately.
Last question, Usec. Willful disobedience and contamination. Kasi someone reported to me a situation na nag-away-away. One family had a big argument because one of their family members had tested positive for COVID-19 but did not observe the quarantine requirement. Kumbaga, minumura na siya ng mga kapatid niya kasi pagala-gala pa siya dyan sa bandang BGC. Sabi nung kapatid, hindi ba pwede pakulong natin yung buwang na kapatid natin na yan? Is there a law? Is there somewhere where people can call anonymously and have people like this arrested because willful disobedience and risk to others?
Yes, theoretically, yes. Since that person is a threat to public health and public safety, no? Pero wala pa tayong ganun. I have not heard of any situation like that, Sir Cito, no, na nagpakulong tayo because these are considered patients, no? What we can do is to have them isolated. Yun ang pwede natin gawin through the help of the local government unit and the barangay, of course.
Padala natin sa rehab center sa Muntinlupa. Okay. Thank you very much, Undersecretary Malaya. And I sincerely hope that the government's new approach or strategy works. And pakiusap na lang po, kung pwede lang pong bigyan talaga ng atensyon ni Secretary Anyo yung buwisit na voters registration ID requirement for various transactions. Thank you very much, Sec John.
Thank you very much po at mabuhay po kayo.
Mabuhay po kayo. Yan po, si Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya, DILG. And now, we go to our next guest. Lawyer naman po siya kasi yun na nga, medyo mukhang magiging legal quandary. We have the new president of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. He was president of IBP Bukidnon chapter before being IBP Philippines president. He's also, Datu of Bukidnon Tagluanon tribe. Datu Burt Estrada. Attorney, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Cito. Magandang umaga sa lahat ng viewers natin.
Okay, Attorney, nadinig mo naman siguro yung discussion namin ni Undersecretary Malaya, and I think the first big issue or controversy will be the mandatory vaccination of employees, staff for dine-in facilities or indoor facilities. Do you see a problem in this?
Yes, Sir Cito. No? But before I give my opinion, I would just like to say first that the IBP has not made any official position on this matter. So what I will be saying is merely my personal opinion.
Okay.
With that being said, Sir Cito, yes, while I really appreciate what the government is trying to do in trying to balance everything, no? From the protection of the public to promoting public health and trying to have the economy back on track. However, this really shows, in the words of the late constitutionalist, Father Joaquin Bernas, that governance really is a delicate balance, no, between the powers of government and the rights of the governed. And so on that particular issue, while we do understand the need to have people vaccinated, as it is shown to be one of the best options to really have our economy on track, but there's also that issue on a person's personal right, and his not to be discriminated against. So in the case of workers, we have to visit also the labor code, and the grounds for termination are explicit in our labor code, and Where it could
Okay.
possibly fall is if it becomes a rule, no? An imposed rule by the employer or by the
Mhm.
state. But that also raises the question, if that rule becomes unduly discriminatory. If, for example, as you pointed out during your interview with Usec Malaya, that there are people who are not still able to get the vaccine even if they want to, or there are also those that might not be able to get it because of some medical condition, uh, or those that have religious grounds
Mhm.
to not get
Okay.
vaccinated.
Attorney Estrada, there is a saying among, well, there was one great politician, I just can't recall his name. He said that my loyalty to the party ends where my loyalty to the country begins. And in this issue of vaccination, we are not, while we honor individual rights, there is always the belief that public safety and power of the state will reign supreme. 'Di ba? Meron nga tayong eminent domain, meron tayong police power, etc. Uh, do- Hindi ba pwede 'yon, or isn't that basis enough?
Yes, that is correct, Sir Cito. No? The state has that power and duty to promote public health and to promote the general welfare. This is the state's innate power of police
Mm.
power to legislate policies that will protect uh, and promote the general welfare. However, there we also have in our constitution uh, a principle of equality under the law, or prohibition against undue discrimination. So, such policy, while clearly there is a
Is it, it is, attorney, pasensya ka na, I have to ask the question, is it, kasi some people may not understand the concept of discrimination. Discrimination tends to be excluding one or favoring others to the disadvantage of one. And in this
yes,
case, you are not trying to exclude one, you are trying to include one. You are trying to give him the safety and the protection enjoyed by the majority. So, parang I'm just trying to, figure this out because a lot of people keep asking me that question, Attorney Estrada. Parang, Kuya, what's wrong with these people? Sabi ko,
yeah,
no, we need to understand the terminologies.
that's true. Personally, Sir Cito, no, I'm fully vaccinated. I
Mhm.
would agree to such a policy, no, because
Yeah.
on my personal opinion. But the point of law there, that it is becomes undue discrimination when the means of promoting that public interest. So the public interest here is the protection of the general public and the
Mm.
general welfare and the public health. But for that policy to be lawful, the means of achieving that purpose must be reasonable. And when it is not reasonable, then it becomes unduly discriminatory. So a situation would be, yes, we want to protect public health, not just the vaccinated, the unvaccinated as well. I believe that is the reason for such a policy of having that sort of segregation
Mm.
in the alfresco and in dine in. However, for that means to be considered as reasonable, then it must be established by solid facts and strong science. No? I think that is where we are still. It's still unclear because
Mm.
the science is not yet that solid. No? As for
Yeah,
example, there is
but
still that.
attorney, yeah,
Mhm.
attorney, sorry to cut you there, no, or to interrupt, but I'm sure you've been watching international news coverages and announcements by other world leaders, and it seems that the global direction, not it's not just a trend, it has become a global direction and state policy of many countries that you must be vaccinated if you wish to enjoy your rights of mobility, freedom, to go out to work, etc., you must be vaccinated. In fact, I watched something last night. There were places where if you are not vaccinated as a student, I think it's in California, you're required to show an RT-PCR test every week when you come to
Yeah.
school because that's the timeline of the virus. So parang ang world leaders, they're already saying, no vaccine, no can do, no can work. And here we are trying to be more Western with our economy already in shambles. So, as a lawyer, how would you conclude this? Kasi we can debate the points of law, but how would you advise a client if the Philippine government were your client? How would you advise them to resolve the matter?
Uh, my advice would be, I think the struggle is the same with the other countries, no? In showing the public that the means that we are imposing is reasonable. So how to do that? We have to show the facts, the data, and the science behind it, so that the rules that and the policy that we are imposing will stand as a lawful and reasonable rule. Because if it is not that established, then it is open also to being questioned in court, no, for being discriminatory. So I'd like to point out, Sir Cito, no, maybe this can help our televiewers also. In our jurisdiction, there was only one instance that may be analogous to this, way back in 1927, when leprosy was still uh, considered as incurable. And if you
Mhm.
remember, there was a colony established for those inflicted with leprosy. And
Yeah, the Culyon
the
leper colony and the one in Caloocan ba yun or ba there
yes,
was
in Colon, yes.
one is in
So
Culyon and the other one is in somewhere in north of Metro Manila.
yes,
Okay.
I'm bringing this up because in that case, no, in the case of, I think, Lorenzo versus Director of Health, the Supreme Court upheld that policy of segregating the those that has leprosy to the colony on the basis that there is the support of high scientific authority. That is the words used by the Supreme Court, meaning it is really established that there's no other way to protect the public rather than to segregate them. But as we have seen, when science has caught up and it became curable and there is treatment already, then the policy also changed. The law became unreasonable to segregate them because there is already a cure for such disease. No? So
Mhm.
that is one jurisprudence that we can look into, wherein such policies of the state, and we have to understand the state has the mandate and duty of promoting the general welfare, always the community, and but we have to also always respect the individual rights. So
Okay.
in this case, the state has to prove that there is high scientific authority, there is data, so that the rules and the policies become reasonable and cannot be considered as unduly
Okay. Let,
discriminatory.
let's go for a very quick break. And when we return, I'd like to ask you another question before we end the program because I know you have an important meeting to attend. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and our guest for this last portion of the show is none other than Attorney Burt Estrada of the IBP, or Integrated Bar of the Philippines President. Attorney, Bart ba o Burt? Paano ba ang pronunciation? Kasi B-U-R-T eh.
Bert pa rin po.
Burt pa rin. Okay, kasi iba Bart eh. Okay. Anyway, the question I wanted to ask you before we went to the break is, okay, pag pumasok ka, when you enter malls, private places, banks, etc., they have certain protocols. You can't
Yes.
use your phone in banks before COVID-19. You can't use your mobile phones. Many places stopped the wearing of ball caps, pinapatanggal pa nga yung shades. There are places where you cannot enter wearing slippers. I know of a high-end mall in Makati that does not allow students of a public high school to go through their facility. So kumbaga, sabi ko nga kung discrimination lang ang pag-usapan, noon pa may discrimination. But in this case, the argument being presented, and if I may quote what Dr. Ronjin Solante said, the majority of critical cases or confinements in San Lazaro for COVID are generally non-vaccinated. Joey Concepcion has said, this is a pandemic now of the unvaccinated. Ang pinoproblema natin, hindi na yung may bakuna, yung walang bakuna. So, would you recommend to the Republic or to Secretary Menardo Guevara to just bring the matter before the court? Kasi parang nagtataka ako eh. Noon pa issue ito, question to. They should have already gone to the court months ago or to the Supreme Court to decide on the matter.
Yes, Sir Cito. That is correct. When it comes to the private establishments, the owners have their own private rights and can impose their own rules and restrictions. As you pointed out, marami ng rules na ganyan. Bawal yung naka-shorts, bawal manigarilyo, bawal ang naka-sombrero. So, but these rules are imposed by the private owners. So it's not a law, it's not a statute, and so it does not give rise to a situation wherein an individual can file a case against the state for violating their constitutional rights against undue discrimination or equal violation of the due process clause. But of course, there is still a law in our civil law that when a person feels to have been that his human rights have been violated, being unduly discriminated, yes, they can file a case in court.
Yeah. So if I own a restaurant or a mall and I decide those who are not vaccinated cannot enter, I am well within my rights. This being
That again,
private property.
yes, that again, Sir Cito, is the balancing of right there. A private owner has the right to put up its own rules, and this can be one of the rules. But at the same time, the individuals who are prevented, they also have an argument. They might say that I am being unduly discriminated against. My human rights are being violated here. So then that would be correct. The best arbiter would be the court. If such an actual case happens and the person brings it up to court, then that is the court that will determine which right prevails. If such a
Can
rule,
can yeah, can the IBP do that?
um, there has to be an actual case, Sir Cito, no? Meaning there's
Okay,
an
yeah.
actual controversy. So we
Yeah.
cannot file a case on purely hypothetical and theoretical basis. So the court
Okay.
will need an actual controversy.
Well, we will surely have one in the very near future. Bilang kaisang linggo, meron na yan. Okay, well, Attorney Burt Estrada, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations for becoming the new president of the IBP, and please stay strong, stay healthy, and stay safe.
Thank you po, and allow me to greet everyone a happy low week po.
Okay. Pag-usapan natin yan in the future. Okay, thank you very much. That's Attorney Burt Estrada. And we've run out of time. Good morning na lang sa mga kapitbahay kong si Serge Senen Capistrano and Girly Capistrano. And thank you for joining us this morning. Alan Blackmon and Levi Lopez, thank you very much. Roy Regoso, Roy Moralde, and thank you for keeping it here on One News. I'm Cito Beltran, and that's today's agenda.